Okay, we're asked to find f prime again, so that's the derivative using the definition, of course. And so here's our function, and then after we do this, we're asked for the domain of f prime. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So f prime of x is equal to this definition. And so in terms of our specific function here, f of x plus delta x is going to be 2 times the quantity x plus delta x squared, right? So I'm replacing the x plus delta x here and also here, minus 3 times x plus delta x. Now, that's f of x plus delta x. That's this part. Now I'm subtracting off the function, f of x. I'm putting parentheses around my function because of this subtraction sign is going to need to be distributed. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second. And then this is all divided by delta x. Okay, so let's simplify this. I'm going to expand out this binomial in the numerator and distribute. So I'd have 2 times, remember this is x plus delta x times x plus delta x. So when I FOIL or distribute, I get x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x quantity squared. Distributing my negative 3, I get negative 3x, negative 3 delta x. And then again, distributing my negative, I get negative 2x squared and plus 3x. Okay, and all this is over delta x. So now we distribute the 2, and I want to combine like terms. So I have the limit as delta x goes to 0. Distributing, I get 2x squared plus 4x delta x. And if you want to put the delta x in parentheses, you can, to remember it's one variable. Sometimes people find that useful. Minus 3x minus 3 delta x minus 2x squared plus 3x. So let's look for, and that's all over delta x, and we're going to look for any common, anything that we can combine like terms with. So we have some cancellations, and what's left is the limit as delta x goes to 0 of 4x times delta x plus delta x squared minus 3 times delta x all over delta x. And so what we want to do is direct substitution, we know still gives us 0 over 0, but we have this common factor of a delta x in the numerator. So I want to factor out that delta x, right? And then I'm left with 4x plus delta x minus 3. And at this point, I can cancel the delta x's. And again, I'm only allowed to do that because I'm writing the limit. And I'm sorry, I'm sort of squishing, I run out of space. But now as delta x goes to 0, I'm left with 4x minus 3. Okay, so just to use some of the space over here. So we find that f prime of x, our slope, our derivative function, is 4x minus 3. So what is the domain of this function? Well, this function is just a linear function. The domain is the set of all real numbers. Okay, and remember, keep in mind that this now is our slope producing function, right? So if I want to now know what's the slope of this function at 0, right? So say I want to know what's f prime of 0, then I can just plug 0 into my slope function and I get an answer of negative 3. So if I wanted to look at the slope of this parabola at 0, it would have a slope of negative 3.